covering the stories that impact your life, your town, your state, and your future. This is the Means Report with your host, Brad Means.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Means Report. We certainly appreciate you spending part of your day with us. The happiest new year to you. Hope 2023 is off to a great start. The Means Report covering a lot of ground today, beginning with Augusta's brand new mayor. We will talk to Mayor Garnett Johnson about his job, his hopes, his goals as his term gets underway. Also, how about the job prospects in 2023? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they somewhere in between? What should you know when it comes to who's hiring? Loop Recruiting is here to talk about their efforts to connect companies with workers. And folks, we're going to close out this special edition of the Means Report by remembering and honoring Marlena Wilson, the backbone for so long of the Means Report. Well, let's begin with Augusta's new mayor, Garnett Johnson, a busy gentleman, kind enough to take a break from his schedule to be with us today. Mayor Johnson, thank you so much for taking the time. And we appreciate you. Did you have a good holiday season?
Had a great holiday. And Brad, thank you so much for the invitation to be here today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Just a quick first question to see how you're doing. You've had your first commission meeting. You are in your office, I'm guessing. Are you settled in? How's it going?
Not settled in that we officially took over the office on Tuesday, and Mayor Davis was gracious enough to give us a couple of extra days. But me and the staff are kind of working through the email issues, gaining access and understanding the phone systems and staff telephones. So, you know, we are working through the challenges of this new administration.
Do you have a feel at this early stage? And again, before I did this interview, I thought to myself, you know, don't ask this man too much because he's just getting started. But do you have a feel for how successful your goals and your agenda may or may not be? Are you getting a good vibe at the Muni building?
Yeah, you know, I do. You know, being a business owner, you know, you always have these vibes and feels, and you're always putting together strategies. I feel confident in that we started well. We have a great new commission, some new commissioner-elects, and we're just in that process of building this bond and this team, and I think we'll be successful.
I swear we could talk for 2 hours, Mayor Johnson, and I just keep thinking of more and more questions to ask you. You just made me think about you and your business. Do you remember when you got Augusta Office Solutions started, challenges or obstacles that you faced that as mayor you might be able to help make smoother for folks trying to start up?
Certainly. I tell everybody, being an entrepreneur is certainly the toughest job in the world. On July 23rd, 2010, I took the giant leap of faith to start a business with only the support of my wife. And I remember the challenges, always being the last to get paid, always having to put in the longest hours. And I believe I take those attributes into this role as mayor, making sure that the accountability ends with me.
Yeah.
Everything that I've pledged and I've campaigned on, I want to deliver, and there are no excuses.
You know, one of those big campaign issues for you, Mayor, was to clean up Augusta.
Yes, sir.
And to try to clean it up with as little taxpayer dollars as possible. What's that look like? Is it assembling a team of volunteers, getting companies to buy in to clean up? How's that work? You
know, I think it's a combination of both. If you've probably driven around town, you notice that there are some companies that are starting to voluntarily take on some of these entry points through sponsorships. We'd like to have a more robust conversation about how we make that happen, as well as looking at a volunteer effort of citizens that understand that we really need to clean the city up. We really need to take more of a focus on the appearance of our roadways and our communities, and so it'll be a combination of both.
Richmond County Sheriff Richard Roundtree needs deputies. He's short and he needs more men and women on our streets. How can you help him? Do you have a good rapport with him? And how do you say to people who are watching, perhaps, come be a deputy, it'll be worth your while?
Certainly. So the sheriff and I have a great relationship. As you know, he and I are in Exchange Club together, that great group of guys. We desperately need to help the sheriff any way we can to make sure that he has the resources to provide safety and security for our citizens and ensure those who live here that in the event they incur any incidences, that they have the ability to call the sheriff's department that stands by them. And I support that.
You know, a lot of your focus has been on South Augusta and how we can help beef up that key part of our community and help it grow and thrive and develop. So sort of walk me through that. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You need 6 commissioners. Say I want to let a business come to South Augusta.
Certainly.
You need 6 commissioners to sign off on it. You push it through, it happens. How do you cultivate those yes votes? I kind of want you to pull back the curtain and tell me how that works to where your agenda can get approved.
So, as you know, South Augusta is near and dear to me in that when I announced my candidacy, I kicked it off at the corner of Windsor Spring and Tobacco Road. I don't see any challenges with creating healthy food options in the form of restaurants or lifestyle amenities as a challenge with my colleagues on the commission. I think it's a good thing when we're providing the services and the opportunities for our citizens. I don't see that as being adversarial.
All right, yeah, I don't either, but on the surface I don't. But then I picture something like a commissioner from another district saying, look, Mayor, I'll join you. I'll be one of your 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or or more, 10. But first you got to hook me up in my district.
Sure.
And then that's where the waters get muddied and that's where government slows down. How do you overcome that and say, join me on this and I'll join you on your deal? How's that work? Meetings, lunches?
A combination of both. It could be meetings, lunches, it could be coffee. I think the premise of moving Augusta forward starts simply with conversations, just understanding the needs of each individual district, in which I do. As I mentioned, I have a business down in the Central Business District. I live in West Augusta. I was born in East Augusta, and I operate what I consider a campaign headquarters / Food Truck Friday event in South Augusta. So I understand the needs of every district, every neighborhood in this community.
What could you say to viewers who are watching the news each night and wondering why things don't move faster? Hey, why don't we have a new arena yet? Or why isn't there another new restaurant in South Augusta or grocery store or some way for folks to have a better life in that part of town? And it just feels like government is moving slowly. What would you say to those folks when it comes to just being more patient, that y'all are working behind the scenes for us?
I can tell them to continue to exhibit patience in that. I'm realizing that government does not move at the pace of small business or anything else. It takes a lot of collaboration. It takes a lot of conversation with the stakeholders to make sure that we're delivering upon what we should be for the taxpayer. Be patient. I have a track record of getting things done. I pledged that on the campaign trail. I pledged that as your mayor. I will always have the seat at the table to get those things done and be in the room and at the table to have those conversations to move the city forward.
Hey, Mayor, do you think anything's wrong with Augusta, or is it more just building on the good things that we have for your time in office?
I don't think there's anything wrong besides the perception that we have a bad community. I think there's perception that we have bad schools. I've said numerous times, we don't have bad schools. We need better, more engaged parents to kind of understand the responsibilities of being a parent. The school system, believe it or not, is the bedrock of our community and how we grow ourselves, not only from a population perspective, but from an economic development perspective. It's going to be my challenge to work with our incoming school board members, as well as those that are there, to at least make sure we're having a conversation, to work in coalition to make these changes that are needed.
All right, so I'll ask you the same question I asked you about your relationship with commissioners. Is it the same with school board members? Again, in these early first few days, that you're getting a good feeling that those relationships with the BOE will be strong?
I do. I've always been a very optimistic person.
Yeah.
And I feel confident that, the relationships that I have, the relationships that I've established will be beneficial to the city as a whole, not only in Richmond County, but also in Columbia and Burke County. It kind of crosses county lines, and is that this region, we're inextricably tied, and we have to work together for the sake of our community to make sure that we're getting the resources needed to move us forward.
Look, I know this next item has been covered in the news, but I think it deserves to be covered again, shouted from the mountaintops. You went to Washington, D.C., went to the White House with a select group of mayors, all right? It wasn't every mayor or every new mayor in the nation, it was you and a few others. How did that go? Did you walk away with anything from the White House that might help you back here at home?
Walked away with a lot of great information from the White House. I felt honored to be selected with 13 newly elected mayors from across our country to have an intimate conversation with President Biden about his administration, about the American Rescue Plan, as well as some other important legislation that's been passed, and how it impacts our community here in Augusta. as I mentioned, we now have a seat at the table to continue those conversations about how we move Augusta forward. Regardless of where you sit politically, I think it's a great idea to be involved in those conversations.
Why did you decide to run? I see a man before me who, with his wife, is running a successful business, who's comfortable in the community. I do know you from the Exchange Club. Why'd you have to do this extra thing?
Well, you know, my wife and I ask ourselves that still every morning when we wake up. I was born and raised in this community, and I love Augusta to death. I choose to live here. I want to see Augusta become better. So I offer myself up for this uncomfortable role in which I'm in. And I believe I have this personal adage that you always have to keep yourself uncomfortable, always pressing yourself to do better things. And that's my intention for this role as mayor. Setting examples for others. You know, I grew up in an environment where people like me traditionally don't end up where I'm at. So even in business, so if I can be an example for others, if I can help move this community forward in a positive way, if I can have a conversation about how we create opportunities for others, grow jobs, grow our city, clean our city up, I'm all for it.
I tell you, so many people sit on the sidelines. You did not. You are in the game. Last question is about your family. A large degree of privacy has been taken away now. You're highly recognized, and that will continue to grow. How is the Johnson family dealing with this in the early going, saying, here's what husband, here's what dad's doing? Are they cool with it?
They're great with it.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes my wife and daughters will tell me they'd rather go off by themselves without me, because you're right, people do recognize me no matter where I am, whether I'm grocery shopping or at Lowe's in shorts and a t-shirt, but that's who I will remain. I'm an everyday citizen. I love doing my own yard work. So my neighbors always see me out in the yard. So, and that's who I'll remain. This job as mayor is just something that I want to do to help the citizens and improve the lives of those who live in this city and throughout this region.
Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. You're just getting started. You still came by the TV station to talk to me, and I thank you for that, Mayor.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. It's greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Augusta Mayor Garnett Johnson, our special guest today. When we come back, how you can get a job in the new year. We have folks from Loop Recruiting to try to help you do that. Stay with us.